The mansion of Vicente Montenegro was ablaze, and the city of San Vittorino watched in shock. Sirens wailed, but no one knew how the fire had started. Amid the smoke, a skinny boy clutched an old pendant, staring at the flames with tears in his eyes. "He lied to everyone," Leo muttered, his voice trembling with rage. What had a billionaire like Vicente done to bring a poor boy to this point? No one could imagine the secret that bound them. The truth, once revealed, would change everything. Vicente was the most powerful man in the city, owner of Montenegro Corp, a tech giant. His life seemed perfect, wealth, influence, headlines. But that night, something was off. The press whispered about a scandal involving a child. What was he hiding behind the gates of his mansion? The city demanded answers. Leo, the boy with the pendant, seemed to hold the key. Leo was nobody to San Vittorino, a 12-year-old scavenger living in the Morro da Cruz favela. Yet there, among the flames, he was the center of attention. His soot-streaked face appeared on news reports. "Who is this boy?" they asked. He said nothing, only gripping the pendant tightly. The mansion, a symbol of Vicente's power, was now a charred skeleton. Priceless objects turned to ash, but something survived, a locked metal box found by firefighters. Inside were documents no one was meant to see. Leo knew what they contained. He had discovered them days before. The fire wasn't an accident, everyone suspected. But who would dare challenge Vicente Montenegro, a man who ruled the city like a king? The boy, so small and fragile, seemed an unlikely culprit. Still, his eyes carried an untold story. The question hung in the air. What connected Leo to Vicente? Why was a favela boy at the heart of the chaos? The answer lay in the pendant, the fire, the box. Each piece of the puzzle promised a revelation that would shake San Vittorino. That night would mark the end of an empire and the beginning of a legend. Leo, the nobody, was about to change everything. But at what cost? The story begins here, with fire, secrets, and a boy who defied fate. Leo woke every day at 5 before the sun rose over Morro da Cruz. He collected cans and plastics from the streets, the only way to pay for his mother, Dona Rosa's medicine. The favela was his world. Dark alleys, constant noise, the stench of sewage. At 12, he already knew dreams were a luxury. School was a makeshift shack with few books and even less hope. Leo was clever, devouring lessons, but exhaustion often won. He carried a notebook where he scribbled ideas to get out of this life, always with the pendant from his father, whom he never met, hanging around his neck. Donna Rosa, sick, barely left her bed. Leo lied to her, saying things would improve. He watched her fade and felt useless. The weight of being the man of the house crushed him. Still, he smiled for her, hiding his fear. His friends in the favela called him Professor for his habit of explaining everything. Leo had a spark in his eyes, a curiosity that wouldn't die. He believed that hard work could get him an education and a better life for his mother. But the outside world didn't seem to want that. San Vittorino's inequality was brutal. From the hill, Leo saw the gleaming skyscrapers where men like Vicente Montenegro lived. He didn't understand why some had everything while others had nothing. Anger grew, but he kept it buried, focused on survival. The pendant was his talisman, a metal piece engraved with VM. Donna Rosa said it was from his father, but never elaborated. Leo imagined his father was someone important, maybe even rich. It was a fantasy that kept him going. He wanted more than cans and empty promises. He wanted a chance, a path out of the favela. But at 12, Leo still had no voice. Fate, however, was about to shout for him. One day, while scavenging, Leo heard sirens. Police raided Morro da Cruz, claiming a crackdown on drug dealers. But the favela knew it was just an excuse to humiliate. Homes were ransacked, and Leo's was no exception. He watched, hidden behind a wall. The police threw Donna Rosa's few belongings on the floor. She coughed, weak, pleading for calm, but was ignored. Leo wanted to run to help, but a friend held him back. "Are you crazy? They'll get you." Helplessness burned in his chest. He clutched the pendant, furious. The next day, the favela mourned. A neighbor was unjustly arrested, and Leo's shack was left doorless. Donna Rosa worsened, her cough growing harsher. Leo needed more money for medicine, but scavenging barely covered food. Life tightened its grip. Then he saw the billboard, Vicente Montenegro, smiling, announcing a social project. A Montenegro Corp promised to help poor children, choosing one for a new life. Leo thought it was hypocrisy. Why would a rich man care about the favela? Still, the idea stuck with him. In the favela, no one trusted Vicente. It's just PR, they said. But Leo heard the billionaire would visit for an event. It was a slim chance to ask for help for his mother. He decided to go, despite his fear of what he might face. At the event, Vicente arrived with security and cameras. Leo, dirt-stained, approached, but was shoved by a guard. "Get lost, kid!" The crowd laughed, and Vicente didn't even glance at him. The humiliation stung, but Leo noticed something. Vicente's gaze hesitated, as if he knew something. A seed of change was planted. Leo didn't know how, but he swore he'd make that man hear him. Something bigger was beginning, and he felt it in the warm pendant against his chest. At the event, Vicente spoke about saving the youth. Leo, amid the crowd, shouted, "What about my mother's medicine? You only pretend to help." The audience gasped. A security guard grabbed Leo, dragging him out. The boy struggled, but it was futile. Vicente, from the stage, made a joke. "Kids have imagination, don't they?" The crowd laughed, and Leo's face burned. He was just a dirty kid to the rich. The guard threw him into the mud, saying, "Stay in your place." Leo held the pendant, swallowing tears. Back in the favela, neighbors tried to comfort Leo, but he locked himself in the shack. The crowd's laughter echoed in his mind. He looked at Donna Rosa, asleep, and felt rage at himself. Why had he thought he could face a man like Vicente? At school, even the kids mocked him. "Trying to be famous, Professor?" Leo fell silent, but the pain grew. He saw Vicente's posters all over the city, like an untouchable king. Inequality was a slap in the face, and Leo was the target. He began to doubt himself. Maybe he was just a scavenger, worthless. The dream of studying seemed foolish now. He tossed the notebook of ideas into a corner, but the pendant around his neck seemed to pulse, as if saying, "Don't give up." That night, Leo heard Donna Rosa cough violently. He rushed for water, promising himself, "I'll make them respect me." The humiliation turned to fuel. He didn't know how, but Vicente Montenegro would pay for that day. A spark of vengeance ignited. Leo decided that if the world wouldn't give him chances, he'd create his own. Moro da Cruz would one day see his name shine. The next morning, Leo met Seu Jorge, an old scavenger who read old books. "Kid, the world is tough, but you've got a brain," he said, handing Leo a book about inventors. Leo flipped through it, reading stories of those who overcame poverty. Something ignited inside him. He started studying at night with a flickering lantern. The notebook returned, filled with ideas to improve the favela. Leo sketched a simple water filter using scrap. It was small, but the first step to feeling alive again. Sir Jorge took him to a science fair in the city. Leo, shy, showed the filter. A teacher praised, "This could help many people." For the first time, Leo felt proud. He realized his ideas had value, even from the favela. In the favela, he began teaching other kids to read. "If I can, you can," he said. The nickname Professor gained respect. Leo still scavenged, but each can felt like a brick to build something bigger. But Vicente's shadow grew. Montenegro Corp announced they'd choose a child for the social project. Leo heard rumors it was just marketing, but Seu Jorge insisted, "Go, kid, use them like they use us." Leo hesitated, but saw a chance. He decided to try, not for Vicente, but for his mother. The desire to change burned stronger. Leo began planning how to stand out at the next event without being humiliated again. He knew he had to be smart. The restart was fragile but real. Leo was no longer just a favela boy. He was a seed, ready to break through concrete. Leo spent weeks preparing for the Montenegro Corp event. He built a better filter prototype using tips from Jorge's book. Each sleepless night was a step to prove his worth. He wanted Vicente to see him as more than a kid. At the event, Leo entered the ideas contest. Nervous, he presented the filter to a panel of judges. The crowd applauded, and even Vicente in the audience raised an eyebrow. Leo won first place, and Montenegro Corp invited him to a talent program. Life changed fast. Leo was taken to a training center with abundant food and expensive teachers. He learned technology, math, even robotics. Each day was a shock. Him from the favela, there, but the emptiness in his chest remained. Vicente called him the nation's future, but never met his eyes. Leo felt like a pawn in a bigger game. He heard staff whispers, "It's just for PR." Distrust grew, but he pushed on, thinking of his mother. Clara Viana, Vicente's lawyer, began watching him closely. She asked odd questions, like about the pendant. Leo didn't like her, but had to stay sharp. He knew success came with a price, and Clara seemed to know more than she let on. He started sending money to Donna Rosa, who slowly improved. It kept him going, but challenges mounted. Other program boys saw him as an outsider, and tests grew tougher. Leo had to prove he belonged. Hope was real but fragile. Leo was growing, but felt the weight of Vicente and Clara's gazes. Something big was coming, and he needed to be ready. One day, Leo was accused of stealing a tablet at the training center. He swore he was innocent, but the cameras showed him taking it. The other boys laughed, and the teachers suspended him. Leo returned to the favela, humiliated, his dream in pieces. Donna Rosa tried to console him, but Leo locked himself in the shack. He threw the water filter against the wall, shattering it. "I'm an idiot for believing," he yelled. The pendant seemed to mock him, a reminder he'd never belong in the rich world. In the favela, neighbors distanced themselves. "See, you can't trust those rich folks," they said. Leo felt he'd betrayed the favela by trying to rise. He considered giving up, returning to scavenging, forgetting his dreams. Darkness swallowed him, but one night, Jorge knocked. "Kid, someone set you up. Success breeds envy." He showed a phone video from a friend, another boy hiding the tablet in Leo's bag. It was the proof he needed. Leo hesitated. Confronting Montenegro Corp was risky. He could lose everything, even his mother's chance at help. But rage overcame fear. He decided to return and demand justice, no matter the pain. The next day, he stormed the teacher's room, video in hand. "I didn't steal. Look at this." The room fell silent. Leo trembled, but his voice was firm. He was tired of being stepped on. The decision was brave, but dangerous. Leo knew it was all or nothing. He was back in the fight, but the next step would be the hardest. The teachers, after seeing the video, apologized and reinstated Leo, but he no longer trusted them. That night, a janitor, Donna Marlene, pulled him aside in a dark hallway. "Be careful, boy. They know more about you than you think," she whispered, pointing at the pendant. Donna Marlene revealed she'd worked at Vicente's mansion years ago. She saw a woman, like Donna Rosa, leave crying, pregnant, with that same pendant. "It was a gift from him, Montenegro. Ask your mother." Leo froze. Could it be? He returned to the favela and confronted Donna Rosa. Weak, she confessed, "Your father was Vicente. He paid me to disappear when he learned about you." Leo's world collapsed. The man who humiliated him, whom he admired and hated, was his father. The pendant burned against his chest. Leo spent the night awake, replaying every memory. The laughter, the disdain, it all made sense now. Had Vicente known who he was since the favela event? Rage mixed with deep pain. He was more than a project. He was a secret. Donna Marlene advised, "If you want the truth, go after his files." Leo decided to break into Vicente's office at Montenegro Corp. It was madness, but he needed proof. A plan began to form, dangerous but necessary. He started watching Clara Viana more closely. She seemed to know something, always eyeing the pendant. Leo decided to use her, feigning trust to learn more. The game was growing, and he had to play it well. The revelation changed everything. Leo wasn't just a favela boy, he was the heir to an empire. But the truth came with a price, and he was about to pay it. Leo planned the break-in carefully. He used his program skills to hack the office security. One night, while the city slept, he entered Montenegro Corp, heart pounding. Each step was a risk. In the office, he found a metal box in a safe. Inside were documents, contracts, photos, and a letter from Vicente to Donna Rosa, promising money to disappear with the child. Leo trembled with rage. It was all true. Vicente had erased him from his life. He heard footsteps. Clara Viana appeared with a cold smile. "Knew you'd come, Leo." She admitted she knew the secret and planned to use it against Vicente. "Help me, and I'll make you rich, or I'll destroy you." Leo refused, clutching the documents. Clara laughed, calling security. Leo ran, but was cornered. He looked at the papers, knowing they were his only weapon. "Vicente is my father," he shouted, hoping someone would hear. The guards hesitated, and he escaped. Back in the favela, Leo hid the documents with Seu Jorge. He knew Clara and Vicente would come for him. But now he had proof, and the courage he lacked before. He'd grown from a humiliated boy to one challenging an empire. He decided to confront Vicente directly. He didn't want money or power. He wanted the truth, face to face. The dream of saving his mother still burned, but now it was also about justice. Tension built. Vicente seemed untouchable, but Leo knew something he feared: the truth. The final confrontation was nearing, and São Vitorino would never be the same. Leo stormed Vicente's mansion during a gala dinner. Dressed in simple favela clothes, he entered through the kitchen, documents in his bag. The city's elite stared, stunned. Vicente, at the center, paled at the sight of him. "You're my father!" Leo yelled, throwing the documents on the table. The room went silent. He showed the letter, the photos, the pendant with VM. "You abandoned me, abandoned my mother." The words echoed, and the guests murmured, filming it all. Vicente tried to deny it, laughing nervously. "This boy's crazy!" But Leo was relentless. He told Donna Rosa's story, the poverty, the humiliations. Each word was a dagger. Vicente's eyes betrayed his fear. He knew he was exposed. Clara, in the crowd, intervened. "He's lying. It's a scam." But Leo had the tablet video, proving she'd framed him. The crowd turned on Clara, and she retreated. Leo faced Vicente, waiting for a response, any response. Vicente, cornered, confessed. "I was young. I made a mistake," he murmured. But Leo wouldn't accept it. "Mistake. You chose to erase me." Years of pain erupted. He threw the pendant to the floor, breaking their last tie. The crowd recorded, and the scandal went live online. Guards tried to take Leo, but the guests blocked them. "Let the boy speak." The turn came when a famous journalist demanded Vicente explain. The billionaire's empire crumbled in minutes, broadcast to millions. Leo left the mansion, exhausted but free. He'd won, but at what cost? The truth was out, and now he had to face what came next. The news exploded in São Vitorino. "Secret son of Montenegro!" Headlines screamed. Montenegro Corp lost millions in stocks overnight. Vicente locked himself in the mansion, refusing interviews. Leo, back in the favela, was now a celebrity, but he didn't want it. Donna Rosa, seeing her son on TV, cried, "You didn't have to do this, my boy." Leo hugged her, saying it was for her. But fame brought trouble. Reporters invaded the favela, and neighbors asked for money. Leo felt the weight of being the heir. Clara was fired and charged with extortion. She tried to blame Leo, but no one believed her. The once powerful lawyer vanished from the city. Leo knew she wasn't the true villain. The system that created Vicente was. The favela split. Some saw Leo as a hero, others a traitor for exposing a rich man. He lost friends, but gained respect. So Jorge supported him. You did what no one dared. Leo smiled, but the emptiness grew. Vicente sent a letter, offering money to stay quiet. Leo tore it up unread. He didn't want his father's money, but the rejection still hurt. He wondered if it was worth it. The truth freed him, but also isolated him. Leo's life changed forever. He wasn't just a scavenger anymore, but the victory tasted bitter. He needed to find a new path, with the world watching. The suspense grew. What would Leo do now? He'd beaten the giant, but the future was uncertain. San Vitorino awaited his next move. Leo sat on the hilltop, watching San Vitorino's skyscrapers gleam. He thought of everything: the humiliation, the fight, the truth. Each step was a battle, and he'd survived. But for what? He held the notebook where he wrote his dreams. He remembered Sir Jorge. The world doesn't change, but you can change a piece of it. Leo realized his pain had a purpose. He hadn't fought just for himself, but for all the favela represented. The truth was his weapon, and he'd used it. San Vitorino's inequality still existed, but Leo found meaning in the struggle. He didn't need to be rich or famous. He wanted to be someone who made a difference, like the inventors in the book. His story inspired others to rise. He thought of his mother, the pendant, Vicente. The pain of rejection wouldn't fade, but it didn't define him. Leo was more than a billionaire's son. He was the boy who challenged the system and won. The lesson was clear. Power isn't in money, but in courage. Leo learned that even the small could change the game. He tucked the notebook away, knowing his journey was just beginning. He looked at the sky, starless from pollution, but he felt a light within. Pain had shaped him, and he was ready to shape the world. This reflection tied Leo to the favela, his mother, himself. He was no longer a victim. He was a builder of futures, and that was enough. Leo returned home and found Donna Rosa standing stronger. She hugged him, tears in her eyes. "You're my pride, Leo," he cried, confessing his fear of disappointing her. She held him tight, saying he was all she'd dreamed. They talked of the past, of Vicente, the pendant. Donna Rosa apologized for hiding the truth. "I wanted to protect you," she said. Leo understood. He forgave his mother, knowing she'd only wanted the best. The embrace sealed years of silence. That night, Sir Jorge brought neighbors to the shack. They apologized for doubting Leo. "You're one of us," they said. The favela, which had judged him, now embraced him. Leo felt the hill as home again. He thought of Vicente, but didn't want to see him. Forgiveness for his father didn't come, and maybe never would. But Leo let the anger go. Holding grudges only bound him. He chose to move forward, with his mother and the favela. Donna Marlene, the janitor, arrived with a cake. "You're brave, boy," Leo thanked her, seeing in her the strength of those who survive quietly. He promised to help others like her, forgotten by the world. The scene was cathartic: laughter, tears, unity. Leo had changed, and the favela saw it. He inspired kids to study, mothers to fight, elders to dream. The boy with the pendant was now the heart of the favela. The reunion healed wounds. Leo didn't need Vicente. He had a larger family in the favela, and that was his strength. Days later, Montenegro Corp announced donations for Morro da Cruz. Vicente, pressured by the media, promised schools, hospitals, clean water. Leo knew it was out of guilt, not kindness, but accepted. The favela deserved it. He used the water filter to start a community project. NGOs offered support, and Leo became a leader, teaching others to build. Favela kids called him Professor with pride. He earned respect, not money. Vicente tried to reconnect, offering an inheritance. Leo refused. "I want only what I've built." The billionaire, humiliated by the rejection, lost his luster. The city saw Vicente for what he was, an empty man without family. Leo won a tech school scholarship. He accepted, dreaming of inventing for the favela. Donna Rosa, healed, worked as a seamstress, proud of her son. Their simple life was rich in meaning. Those who laughed at Leo at the event now applauded. Justice came not through revenge, but example. He showed the favela could outshine the skyscrapers. San Vitorino learned his name. The satisfaction was clear. Leo didn't need Vicente's empire. He built his own with ideas and heart. The favela celebrated and he smiled, knowing he'd won. Leo's reward was greater than gold. It was the certainty that, even small, he'd changed the world around him. Leo now woke early to study, not to scavenge. He lived in the same shack, but the favela had clean water and a new school. Donna Rosa sewed, smiling, and Leo felt peace. Life was simple but full of future. He led tech workshops in the favela. Kids built robots from scrap, inspired by him. Leo saw in them the same spark he'd had. "You're the future," he said, and they believed. The favela pulsed with hope. At school, Leo was respected but never forgot the favela. He brought rich classmates to see it, breaking prejudices. "This is my home," he said, proud. He built bridges where walls once stood. One day, a favela girl showed a filter like his. "I want to be like you, Professor." Leo smiled, seeing the cycle begin. He knew his story would inspire other protagonists, other Leos, other struggles. He still used the notebook, now filled with bigger plans. Solar power for the favela, free internet, a fairer world. Leo had grown, wiser but with the same boyish curiosity. The future was his. San Vitorino changed slowly. Inequality remained, but the favela had a voice. Leo proved a poor boy could be a giant. The city saw him as a leader and he embraced the role. The journey was complete, but it was just the start. Leo knew more challenges would come. With the favela by his side, he was ready to face them. Leo gazed at the horizon where the favela met the skyscrapers. He was no longer the boy with the pendant, but carried his story in his heart. Each humiliation, each victory was a step to get here. He smiled, grateful. Life, he learned, isn't about where you start, but what you build. The favela taught him to fight, Donna Rosa to love, Seu Jorge to dream. Leo was the sum of them all, and more. Proof that the small can be immense. His story became legend in San Vitorino. Kids told how Professor faced a billionaire and won. But Leo didn't want to be a hero. He wanted everyone to find their own strength, as he had. The pendant now in a box was a symbol, not of Vicente, but of overcoming. Leo knew pain shapes, but courage transforms. He chose to transform, and that changed everything. For those who heard his story, Leo left a message. The world is tough, but you are stronger. He believed everyone had a favela, a dream, a fight. It just took the first step. Looking at the sky, he saw a rare star through the pollution. It was like him, small, yet bright. Leo closed the notebook, ready for the next chapter. Life awaited and he would write it. Never give up on being greater than the world wants you to be. Leo, the favela boy, proved it. And now, it's your turn.